Expedition 33 is one of the most exciting games out there this year in 2025. Not only will you experience breathtaking landscapes and great storytelling, but you will fall in love with the characters in this game. And today, I wanted to take just a second, a little fun side quest, if you will, and let us rank the characters in this game from very low optional characters that you may have missed all the way to our prime members of the cast in the game. Let's get into it. All right, here is our tier maker, our tier list maker. As you can see, it goes all the way from S tier all the way to D. Now, this game's going to be very hard to put anyone at D because I love them all, but somebody's got to go there. And so, number one, we're going to do optional characters. We're going to do them first. They are less important to the main plot and less important to the main narrative. But my little challenge that I am doing for myself, I have to put one of them in every single category if it fits. So, for instance, I can't just put like the mime all in D tier and then put every single one in D tier. I have to put one in S, one in A, one in B, one in C, and one in D, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to do this for our sub characters as well, and even our main cast. If it was up to me fully, I would put all the main cast in S tier, but bias aside, I have to challenge myself to look at their weaknesses and their strongness and see where I would rank them for their overall personality. We're not going to go into their strengths or builds or power. This ranking is purely on personality, fun quirks, and overall good time experience within the story. Let's first start off with the sub-important characters, ones that you can even skip over and not really even need to know anything about them and still progress in the story. We're going to start off with Golgra. Okay, for me, personally, I feel like Golgra is a weaker addition to the game. I don't really feel that much of a connection with her whatsoever. Her main challenge for me is just to kill her and finally beat her, because she has one of the hardest move sets to parry in the game. But for the character into the story, she gives you a little bit of dialogue here in Act 1, but overall, I found her kind of boring in mid-laster, so she is actually going to be our first D-tier slot. Now, let's move on to the mime. The mime, you're like, oh, wait a second, how can you even put her in story or character development, her or he, because they come in various forms? Well, actually, there is the part where, way in the beginning of the prologue, where where Sophie and Gustav are together. Sophie runs into there, and there is some dialogue in there, and she's like, oh, Gustav, help me, what is this dang mime? So, I actually want to put the mime in C tier. I know that's maybe like a conflict for many of you, but I'm going to go ahead and do that anyways, and actually, I take that back. The mime for character development and story plot, he goes in D tier because he doesn't add much. Then that'll put Golgra in C. Now, let's go on to somebody next. We have Noko. Many of you are like, wait. Noko no way is an unimportant character. I can agree with you in some ways with this, but in other ways, he doesn't necessarily need to be there to move the plot along. He gives them advice of where the Gestural Village is, but he's not necessarily like a plot-driven character. So I'm going to put Noko, actually, out of all the unimportant characters, I'm going to put him in S tier because I love him that much, though. And when he died, it did make me feel some stuff, okay? I was in pain with Minoko right there when his son died. Then we have what I would say is Aileen. Not the paintress, Aileen herself. Aileen, we don't really see too much until the very ending if you chose Verso's ending. And so for that reason, I call her an unimportant character, even though overall in the whole narrative, She is a very important character, but that would be more so her paintress side of her character development. So for the unimportant cast, Aileen is still going to go in A, though. She's still going to go in A, and I still value what she does for the story overall. Now, next, we have Gustav's sister. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know her name. I don't. That's how unimportant she was for me. So Gustav's sister for unimportant characters, I am going to put right into B tier because she does send off the expeditioners, and a lot of her did make and shape Gustav into who he is today. So, and also she helped Gustav raise Mael. So there is a little bit of stuff there, but she's so unimportant that I don't even remember her name. So therefore, I think B is a good, comfortable spot for her, where she's just sitting alongside the rest in that middle sweet spot. All right, now I think we can actually move on to important characters. But we're not going to go into main cast yet. We're going to go into important characters just overall. Think of this as like the mid-ground characters, okay? These are going to be people like Clea, Aileen, the painted version of, I mean, not the Aileen, Alicia, the painted version of Alicia, at least, not real form Alicia. I know this game's confusing. If you haven't already done the campaign, you're in the wrong spot. You're not even gonna understand anything I'm saying. And we'll probably I would even put SK. Yes, I am gonna put SK and Francois here as well. They're mid characters. They're not main plot characters, mid characters. And Sophie. All right, so Clea, this is going to be a divisive one because Clea is actually behind the scenes a very important character. She created the Nevrons. She did a lot to the world, and the destruction of it is from Clea. Okay, so without Clea, there wouldn't be no Nevrons, no mini bosses or things that we would be fighting in the game. Therefore, I'm actually putting for mid characters, I'm going to put Clea in A tier. The reason I have her in A tier is because she's not necessarily, I guess we just didn't get enough screen time with her. I wish we had more. I wish we got more of a backstory with her. If you do the Simon stuff, you get a little more details on her. She's kind of like a narcissistic woman, girl, kind of, but then on the other take, she's kind of also like Lune, where everything's got to be particular. So, you know, maybe you kind of resonate with Clea a little more than others because she feels like her family is doing a little side quest that's not important to the real world, trapping themselves inside the canvas. But I do think Clea plays an important part over in the overall game. We just didn't get enough narrative bits of her and actual stuff to flesh out her character more to put her in higher than A. Next, we are going to have Sophie. Sophie, in the beginning of the game, I really liked her, and I enjoyed her character a lot. But she was killed off in like the first half an hour of the game. So, is it fair for me to say that she belongs in D tier for mid characters? You know, like middle ground characters. I think it's fair for me to say that, right? What do y'all think? I mean, if you disagree with me, you can comment and yell at me. But I'm going to put her in D tier. Now, we also have Francois. Francois, I really don't know whether I want to put him in B or C tier. Because, like, even though he's mentioned so little and given so little, you know, of time compared to SK, his backstory is actually very sad and also fun, because to my understanding, Francois was created by Clea and SK was created by Verso, and they used to, when they first painted this overall canvas, maybe I'm wrong with that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and then Clea eventually just abandoned all of her work inside the painting and the canvas, and all of the Nevrons were just to wipe out those imperfections. So he kind of is sad now. I guess he wasn't always, but he's sad now because she left him and no longer plays or visits with him. So I'm actually going to put Francois, as much as it kills me, in C tier. I mean, Again, we're going based off of character development and story. Francois is very fun with his little snippet, but he doesn't add too much, you know. Now we're gonna go over to Alicia, the painted version of Alicia, not actual Mael Alicia, because this tier list looks like they just left Mael and Alicia like pure form as one. So we're just gonna refer to her as Mael when we get to that spot. But Alicia, the painted version, this is a hard one because in the story she does pull a lot of things and strings to make the narrative progress, but at the same time I feel like she kind of almost only acts as a foreshadowing for Mael. Does that make sense? Like she almost, for the story's plot to move forward, she's almost like just that clue or that little whisper to the player of the game that, hey, this is probably like some phantom version of Mael, or at least, I mean, I could tell right when we first were introduced to her, it looks like Mael, and it probably is her in some type of form or shape. And I think she was meant to be that and meant to play that role for the game. She is painted version Verso's sister. Like her as that form is all he knew. So I don't know, it's interesting to see. But I think I'm going to put her in B tier. She does do a lot, but she doesn't belong in S tier. So she's going to go in B. Now we go over to SK. And you're like, wait a second. SK's main plot character. He is not belong in the mid-ground characters. Let me explain. SK is a main plot character, but at the same time, he doesn't have the same factor as Renoir or the Paintress or like the rest of the cast. He does act as more of like the travel companion, the travel buddy, the way you get progressed around the world. So therefore, the reason I'm putting him in with the other mid-ground story development characters, and that's the reason why he's an S, because he is teetering on the main plot line of cast. So I'm going to put him in S tier. Okay, next we have the final mid-ground character, painted version Renoir. Now, since I already have filled out my list of all of these characters and their spots, I am allowed to put him wherever I want, because this is our final mid-ground character. And the painted version of Renoir, he's very, very just kind of the whipped version of Renoir for the Paintress, because it's the version she wanted of him. But he does carry a lot of the main story through Act 1 and 2 through for our characters to have a reasoning to fight for, or for you as the player to have somebody that you're ready to kill because you're like mad because, you know, he killed Gustav, our best friend. So I'm going to put him for that reason right next to SK and put him in S tier. Actually, if we're going into this order, don't pay attention. None of the reasonings of spots of where they're at and puts them beyond each other. Like, you know, like I'm not saying that Noko is better than SK and SK is better than the painted version of Renoir. If you want my opinion, SK is definitely better than the painted version of Renoir. But for the plot and to make this simple, none of these are correlated into that at all. Okay, we're finally at the main cast, the butter of the story, the spot you probably clicked here for. Let's start off with Lune, and this could be hard for me because, again, I can only put them all in a certain spot. I can't just leave somebody and put them all in S tier like I want to, but Lune is gonna go directly into the B tier for me. She does a lot of things that I love about the game is because of Lune. I mean, we got the famous quotes that everybody's putting on t-shirts or, you know, making montages of. When one falls, then something. Yeah, when one falls quote is from her. One of the most iconic ones from the game. She pulls Gustav out of his little depression suicide quirk he had moment. So Lune is like will resonate with a lot of people, especially those that overanalyze and maybe have anxiety and things like that. Lune is gonna be that character that resonates with you. So I'm not putting her D tier because they did flesh her out quite a bit and made me enjoy her character a lot for the story, but I don't think she belongs in S tier. So I'm gonna put her in B tier. And trust me, guys, this is something that pains me to say or put them in these spots. And all of them belong in S tier, but for the sake of the video and interest, I need to put them all in a different spot. Let's move on to, actually I want to get these two out of the way so I have more of a fair shot for the our main characters. And but I still feel firmly about Lune and where she belongs. Now let's go to Real Renoir first. Real Renoir, you guys are gonna sacrifice me for this, but I think Real Renoir actually belongs in S tier. The reason I think he belongs in S tier is because, think about it. It's like he's the only one that had clear sanity right from the beginning. Like, all he wants is for his family to be safe and get over their mourning and grieving for their son that they lost in a healthy way. He first was indulging a bit too on trying to live his life with that painted version of Verso or the world that he did because he was grieving as well. But eventually, he's like, okay, this is unhealthy. We all need to get out of this canvas. Look what it's doing to us in the real world. And we need to let our son go. And I have a lot of respect for that. As a father myself, you can see how he actually really does care for his family. And you can kind of see that Mael's like his favorite. Even though she's treated like crap from the rest of the family members, he's kind of like, daddy's daughter or whatever, or maybe I said that the other way around. But you get what I mean. So I actually think he belongs in S tier for that reason. And also he has the quote, life keeps forcing cruel choices. That quote's amazing and is applicable to our own lives in so many ways. So that's why I'm putting him in S tier for our main cast. Now, the paintress, though, oh gosh. Since we have an odd number of them, I'm going to allow myself to put her also in B tier because we have more than 4. So for her, the reason she's in B tier is because I get it why she's mourning for her son. I'm sure as a parent I would be mourning for my son as well. But at the same time, I feel like she's a little evil. I know we're supposed to view her as like, oh no, she's actually the good one, keeping everybody alive inside the canvas. But perspective is everything. And afterwards, we and then at the end of Act 2, we're feeling like Real Renoir is the evil man. But then once you progress further and see his side of things, depending on how you view the game, your list is going to be completely different. But I feel like she's kind of evil because she kind of, look at the cutscene right when they're about to face her and she's burning everyone. If you notice, she's burning Mael, her own daughter, and Mael's like the way that she wanted. She still has love for Alicia Mael, but because we know that because she wanted to give her a good life and a new life by erasing her memories and placing her in the canvas. But at the same time, she still kind of resents her, for killing Verso. And so that's why she is okay with letting Mael experience pain when they're all burning, when they're about to face her. And she only stops when her little favorite son, Verso, puts his hand on and starts burning himself with that. That's when she stops burning them all. So she has little things that make her a little evil, I feel like. And she also, look at it, she also kind of is forcing Verso's remainder of his soul, the faded boy, which is real Verso soul, to keep painting, to keep the world alive. So is she doing all that for her own son's rest? Or is she in benefit, or is it to her own self-benefit so she can have a piece of him still. You know, so that's why I'm gonna put her at B. She is very like she's also got the side where she, you know, she is loving and actually has created the whole world of life for people that are in the game of Expedition 33 and Lumiere and trying to keep them alive as her powers are fading. And the Gommage was actually Renmore, you know, and a reminder that she can't keep holding on anymore. So she was very misunderstood, but at the same time, I do put her at B tier because she has like, I feel like she's a split personality type of person because she's got good in her, but at the same time, she's kind of like the way she treats Mael Alicia, kind of messed up. The way she handled grieving, kind of messed up to force her son's soul to keep painting and not let go and let him rest. So, and she also made like painted versions of her family of the way she wanted her life to go. So everything about her very complex, and it's not for me to decide on what you think of her, but that's where I would place her in her character development. All right, now we can get into the big people besides Lune. We already did her. Gustav. Ooh. Where am I going to put Gustav in this huge, great list? Gustav was my like favorite character right from the beginning of the game, and I think he was supposed to be all of ours. And he also like did so much for the game. Like it gave us more of a reason to push forward and try to kill the painted Renmore. It gave us our first feelings of like anger towards the game. And it gave us our first realization that this game's not afraid to throw punches. So for that reason, I am going to put Gustav actually in A tier. He is one of my favorite characters of all time. Gustav belongs in A tier. No question about it, okay? Don't argue with me on it. Now, next, I'm going to do Monoko. The reason we're doing Monoko next is because these characters are a little more complex than Monoko. And I think you know where I'm going to go with this. Monoko goes into D tier. Again, D tier for like, if we go back to these other categories of these people, they don't correlate. D tier for this, if we mention him as like an unimportant character, he'd be S, you know. But so D tier is like very high for this, but for the main cast, Monoko belongs in D tier, and the reason why I feel like he doesn't need to be there in the game, but he is there, and he adds comedic relief. He adds a little bit more storytelling behind Verso and what he did inside the canvas and the friends he made along, but he doesn't need to be there, you know. He really doesn't. So that's why I put him in D tier. Yeah, simple as that. CL is actually like my favorite character ability wise. I love her character. She's kind of like Gambit. But character development, I feel like we did get fleshed out a little more than Lune. I do actually think that. And some people disagree and think Lune got fleshed out more than CL did with their character development. But I feel like they mention CL's backstory more than Lune's. Like Lune's kind of just sound like she had strict parents. But CL, we find out that she had a husband, and also later on, Real Renmore hints at that she's had like either miscarriage or something happened, and that's why she has the scar in her stomach for y'all that didn't know. So she has a lot more background behind her, and then the whole thing with the visages, yeah, that's a hard word to say. Visage zone, where's the mask? I really still haven't even figured that out. Why is she the character that is like the one that's able to pull off the mask? I still haven't figured out that, and I feel like there's even further character development behind the lines in that. And I haven't figured out why SK thinks he knew her, and that I'm starting to think that SK like saved her from Painted Renmore when they first attacked her on the beach. But I haven't had confirmation of that. I've played the game twice now, and I still haven't figured it out. There's so many little things and in this game, and little tidbits here and there that you can find, and even on my second playthrough, I found out way more about these characters. I bet you if I played a third time, I'll find out probably the answers I'm asking for. If any of you guys know, comment in this comment section below what's that whole importance. So, but I do, having said that, I still think she belongs in C tier. Why did I put her in C tier and then Lune in B tier? Well, simply because I feel like her relationship thing with, if you chose the relationship path with CL over Lune with Verso, hers is kind of more just like, I don't mean to say this like this, but she kind of like gives herself freely to him type of personality, you know, like a girl that's just like, hey, I want to have sex. I mean, I don't mean to say it like that. It didn't feel like a actual romantic relationship. It felt more like a fling, you know. And I didn't like that they did that with CL, because having known that she had a husband and a miscarriage, you would think she would value relationships and closeness a little more. But it's like her fun personality that she's supposed to be carefree kind of took over, and that's why I put her at C. It kind of ruined it for me. Otherwise, she'd be in the B tier, and Lune would be in C. Lune has a little more self-respect, I feel like, so, and you have to progress even further to be able, you know, do the act with Lune. So that's why I put her in C, just based because of that reason. All right, we got the two characters left here, Verso and Mael. These are the hardest characters because a lot of you want me to just put Versos directly in S tier, and a lot of you want me to put Mael just directly in S tier. And I already know that's how you guys want it to go. Mael, let's do her first. No, I'm not going to do her first, because then you guys are going to be like, oh, well, then we know Verso's going to be S tier, and so on and so forth. So let's do Verso first. Verso is a very complex character. He's kind of like an anti-villain in Act 2 and actually in Act 3, because he's always got like a hidden agenda of his own that the rest of the expedition doesn't know about, or he's withholding information. He's got a lot of things to make you dislike him for people that are like nice and stuff, but he also got a lot of like, you can resonate with the character very easily. You can understand the motives and the reasons why he does what he does and doesn't, and does like why he wants to be done. Because remember, you got to remember, this version of Verso is not the one that we play and get to know in the game, is not real Verso. That's the faded boy at the end. This is the painted version of Verso, but yet he's the only one out of the painted creations that has free will, per se. He has memories and all the characteristics of the old Verso, but he has free will, because it's the way that the painters wanted his life to continue on. Verso's life that ended from the fire, she wanted it to live on the best it could, so she gave him the way to have free will compared to the other ones. So it makes him so complex, because at the endings, you got where if you choose his, it's kind of like, I understand it feels like the moral right decision to let the real life Verso's soul rest, but at the same time, is the painted version of Verso being selfish because he's now taking one life over the created life of everybody within the canvas. And you can argue, oh, well, the life in the canvas doesn't matter, they're not real. Okay, but this is a video game, so if you're going to go off that aspect where you can just say all these people aren't real, you know? But, or you can go on to the aspect of like, in our own lives, if we have a creator, if you believe in creation or a creator or a God, look at it this way. If you say God didn't view us as like a real thing, we're not real, and he just wanted to destroy the world, his canvas, just like that, and us be gone. Because, I mean, if you look at it, this is a painted canvas, a painted world. It's curated. These people are given life via chroma. It is basically like their souls and essences. So if our world, if we want to say the canvas is not real and the people in it aren't real, so it don't matter if we kill them or destroy them or not, then, like, I would argue you would be a terrible god, and I'm glad you aren't, because we would all be dead in this real world. So that puts him in a very hard spot, because then also you look at the Mael ending, and now he has to live the rest of his life trapped within forever, feeling like he's somebody else's memories. But is he kind of just being crazy? Because he does have free will, but at the same time, he keeps battling with like if his memories and his decisions are just the real Versos or if they're his. Because of that, he's so complex, he's so mind-boggling that I am gonna put him in S tier. He's gonna be our final S tier because I think that the way they made somebody like this, and you still question now. I mean, look at the debates all over of whose ending's better, Mael or Verso's, and most people have resonated more with Verso. I do think that puts him in the definitive tier of S, and that's gonna put Mael safely into A tier. Reason Mael's not the S tier, for my opinion and my version completely, and my moral stances and values, I feel like Mael had a lot of things right. I do think that like one person's life of Verso's soul being trapped in there forever does not outweigh the whole everyone's life and souls into the canvas world, and I do agree with her on that. But I do see behind the lines, and they're not just that, oh, it's because I care for everybody in this canvas. She does, she really does, but it's also a part of selfishness that she wants to stay in there. She doesn't want to go back to her real life of Alicia where she can't talk and she has scars and her family resents her. And a lot of us can't blame her. I mean, I can't blame her for that either. Like, I wouldn't want that type of life either. So it's like you're really deciding in the end is two people's lives, Verso's or Mael's. So, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I got a little bit, if you've watched Game of Thrones and you've watched season 8 into the end, I got a little bit of vibes of the same vibes that like Act 3, Mael started acting like season 8 Daenerys. Like, maybe that's just me. I don't know why I felt like that. Like, immediately in Act 3, I started feeling like that. Like, feeling like Mael was kind of turning into Daenerys. And I had those vibes all the way through. And then their final fight felt like, you know, Verso killing Mael, if you chose that version, was, you know, Jon Snow killing Daenerys. It felt like that, even though they're brother and sister, not romantic relationship type thing. But so for me, I feel like Mael, Alicia in the beginning of the story, Act 1 and Act 2, for me was, I liked her way better in that as just Mael. But then Act 3, I started to not like her so much. And that's why I have put her in spot A. So that is my tier list. I hope you all enjoyed. Remember, this is just the character development within the story tier list. But I will be doing future tier lists on like the abilities of the characters, who's the most powerful, who's the most fun to play. I will do further tier lists for this if this video does well. So if you give me, let's just say, let's make it easy, over 100 likes on this video and just a few comments, I will make another tier list going on to who's the most powerful in the game. Until next time, I will see you later. See ya. Goodbye. Peace. Kawanala. I'm out.